Deaf people of Reddit, what is the equivalent of having a song stuck in your head? I've been deaf since I was 2. I always get clips of people dancing stuck in my head, like the Carlton dance from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or dancing in the fountain from the Friends theme song. If I had to have a dance stuck in my head, I think I would pick the Carlton. It always makes me chuckle. If you haven't seen it, look up Will Smith's appearance on The Graham Norton Show on YouTube. The Carlton makes a surprise return near the end, and better than ever. It's not much of a surprise now, is it? If you haven't seen it, look up the movie Sixth Sense. It has a great twist at the end where it's revealed Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. It's gonna shock you when you watch it. What does The Sixth Sense and the Titanic have in common? I see dead people. Edit spelling. And Willis watched as people drowned, as freezing water rushed around, and swept beyond the bleak abyss. But wait, he said, which movie's this? Deaf person here, it's honestly pretty similar. Rhythms, tapping your foot, etc. Not sure about other people's experiences, but I usually have a static sort of sound replaying in my head. Are you born dead? Yes, thankfully I live to tell the story though. That's a reef leaf. A relive. A reef leave. A reelf. A refefe. Au revoir. A relief. I asked my deaf uncle what his conscience consisted of, since Hess never heard a spoken word. I wondered if it was just an image of his hands signing. I was right. That's certifiably mind-blowing. Makes me wonder if those who've lost their hearing after birth still hear their own voice in their head, or if that fades. I've heard folks who lost their sight after birth slowly lose their ability to recall images in their head. Uncle has been deaf from age 5 to now. He's nearly 70, he has memories of sound and words, but they aren't all that accurate. He's very hard to understand when he talks. He's using his memory of the sounds to make and how to make them from 60-ish years ago. What was or is his occupation? Carpenter, in a workforce where basically everyone was deaf. Retired years ago due to ill health. I fear he won't make 75. I'm sorry to hear that. Image has had a challenging life. For years I've attended American Hearing Impaired Hockey Association games, AHIHA. 15 or so years ago I was startled by the younger players' ability to enunciate compared to the older kids. They were fortunate to have had cochlear implants while very young. Some kids signed. There was a tremendous camaraderie between the players and families from all over the States and Canada. How are the hockey games different for the hearing impaired? Do they flash lights when there is a foul end of period? Are line changes handled differently? I'm genuinely curious. They use lights around the rink. Line changes are the same. During practice I've seen coaches use a hockey stick to tap the back of players' legs to get their attention. What's amazing is the hearing impaired kids play local hockey teams who play together as any team would. The hearing impaired boys and girls are together just 1 week a year. Humans are kind of amazing when it comes to adaptation. I asked my completely deaf best friend this and she said, the rhythm of the bass in my car, or pictures of things I enjoy. Especially shows I watched as a kid, I can remember probably every scene. After a few more texts I added the songs she talked about to my playlist so I could turn them on while in my car together. I never really thought of the bass in things until now. Deaf person here. I will have certain TV show intros or commercials repeatedly play over and over in my head. Mostly stuff that I used to see regularly, such as the Pardon Our Dust commercial Toonami aired when I was in middle school, high school, or the intro to Gargoyles, X-Files, Dragon Ball Z, just to give a few examples. Next time on Dragon Ball Z. Will Krillin finally own someone? I'm not deaf, but I had a lot of deaf friends when I lived in Austin. Deaf people still listen to music, they just do it differently than you and I. All my deaf friends had amazing bass systems in their cars. They tend to feel it in their chest. Hip hop and classical are usually popular for people who are deaf. And EDM. I've met dead peeps at the club I used to frequent. Edit, deaf although typing on a phone made for some hilarious side convo. You met the dead? Rob Zombie has a song about it. Living Dead Girl or some such. Nice bass. Ike about others, but I can feel vibrations, yes I'm tough get jealous bitches, which is how I listen to music. I usually listen to New Orleans jazz or rock because I can feel the beat and vibrations the most. There are also heavy bass systems on my speakers in my car and on my Bluetooth so I can feel it better. It's nice. Just be nice when people have their bass up higher, you never know if they have perfect hearing. Yes I'm tough get jealous bitches, did they hire a giant man to portray you in your biopic? Actual deaf here, any clear voice that I connected to a word, would be stuck playing in my head. Like Pink's na 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 so what and so what? Music video. Or actual deaf performer such as Rosalie Tim, she sing in a soul that has so much of rhythm movement, cannot help but keep seeing and hearing it in my head. Another that could stuck playing in my head is gifs of specific dance or movement. I'm very intrigued by the idea of singing and sign language. I never would have considered such a thing. From the sounds of it, this is different from translating songs to sign language. Sorta, you will need to read the whole lyric to understand better on which sign to use. There are some words that have 2 or 3 different signs depends on what the word mean. Sometime there are 1 sign for 3 word in the same sentence. So yeah. This is a brilliant question. I agree. I'm mute after a surgery didn't go to plan. I hear my voice in my head but sometimes I have different accents haha. May I ask what the surgery was for? How did it render you unable to speak? I had 1 large and 1 smaller venous malformation removed from my throat. Unfortunately, vocal cord damage occurred during the surgery. I'm sorry to hear that. Look at this guy, just hearing. All the good questions get ignored on this subreddit. I had a completely deaf friend growing up. In the mid-80s he loved loud heavy rock music. He couldn't hear it, but could feel the beat and loved it. He especially loved Metallica and AC/DC, and would play it as loud as the stereo would play. I know he got these songs stuck in his head, as we would be out somewhere and he would be tapping his feet to tunes from the albums. This reminds me of an old school cool post of someone's deaf father hugging a stereo to their chest. Yes. Here is the post. I read this as dead people. Spelling makes a huge difference in the answering get. I picture the music video Thriller by Michael Jackson. I wonder how it feels to read without knowing how the words sound or saying them in your head or even thinking. Not deaf here, but extreme visual learner. I don't hear words when I read them. I see either the text of them or what they represent in my head. For example, solving a math problem, I literally see numbers written down and it's solved on paper in my head. I never hear it. I do have SPD sensory processing disorder, though. Which could be why I'm so visual. I was extremely sound sensitive as a child, and still am to some extent. It can make discerning what I am hearing difficult. I hear it fine, it's just hard for me to separate from everything else. I was born deaf and later got a cochlear implant so I can hear relatively well, for a deaf person. I listen to a lot of different music but have noticed that it's usually the simple choruses that get stuck in my head, and I have terrible audio memorization so it's usually 1 to 2 lines at most on loop. Born deaf as well, have hearing aids that help significantly. Love music but always a bit jealous of people who can remember the lyrics to songs. Lyrics are mostly noise to me. Guys, I have a question. Whose voice do you hear when you're talking to yourself in your head? Barack Obama's voice. Following for scientific data that follows. I'm late to this but I'd like to offer an in-between perspective. Profound hearing impairment, can't hear the upper 12 or so of normal human range, the lower half is pretty quiet compared to the average human. Despite this, I'm very into music. I play guitar, I produce hip-hop electronic, and I DJ for fun. Anyway, the nature of my hearing impairment, like many, make it extremely hard to understand speech. Because of this, I will frequently have a song stuck in my head, but because I never know the lyrics to song unless I look them up and study them extensively, I pretty much just glaze over the lyrics and sing the tune melody with the random gibberish it sounds like to me instead. Come to think of it, this is funny because I just realized as much as I love hip-hop, I frequently sleep on great artiste songs because whether or not I like a song depends entirely on if their flow voice is catchy, regardless of their bars, because it's just another instrument to me. I really envy people who can pick up lyrics no problem. Always kind of sucks when I'm at a party and someone looks at me while singing the lyrics and I kind of just shrug instead of locking in with them.